technology applications and computer science for public school teachers, not for students, but for teachers. And that we really do now that COVID has been here, we know, right, that we need to get our teachers more computer savvy. So that'd be nice to get that done. And then there's a partner one that says Gary Gates wants to find funding for career and technology programs in public schools. That's an accompanying one. House Bill 424 about continuing review and revision of the essential knowledge and skills of the public school foundation curriculum and proclamation for the production of instructional materials. And again, I'm wondering about some of this because normally that would be a state board job to review those essential knowledge and skills critiques. And then regarding personal finance literacy courses, there's a bill to increase that. And you know, we all know we need that starting at kinder, right? Every year we should be teaching kids more about financial literacy. So that would be good. Here's one about the creation of a state financing program administered by the Texas Public Finance Authority to assist school districts with certain expenses. So they must be noticing a pattern and trend in certain expenses done by districts. And then the last one here that I have is a bill about the election of the Commissioner of Education. So that one caught my eye because now the commissioner is elected by not elected, but appointed
right,
by the governor. So you have a Democrat legislator who's wanting to change that. So those are sort of interesting, right? Some of those will actually make the news, I think. And you can know that you heard it here first, and we can chat later as we figure out what truly can be afforded by this legislative session.
Right. You know, there's so much at risk right now. And again, and this is why you've already, you know, you've got a good relationship with all of the legislators in your neck of the woods, because you have to have a working relationship with them before these bills get filed. Once these bills get filed, it's not that it's too late, because you can stop bad legislation. Us, as we the people, can stop bad legislation. We can help promote and you know, help get approved good legislation. But at this point, Dr. Good, specific things you need to be able to have somebody to go to and have their ear ahead of time. You know, I mean, this is a around the clock, around all year long process with legislation, not just now.
So what a lot of people don't realize, and they don't exercise their right and their voice to do, is that, for example, after every time you hear, let's say you hear a news story about, let's pick on the commissioner one, that you know, Channel 5, 8, 11 has done a news thing on the fact that this Democrat legislator has brought up the need to find a different way to find a commissioner of education. You know, if it talks to you, if it speaks to you, pull up your, you know, how to find your legislator and pop your legislator an email about how you feel about that.
Absolutely.
They love to hear from you. That's, we tend to put them on pedestals, these legislators, and, you know, including House reps and senators. We put them on pedestals and we let them go about their daily business, not understanding that they rely on our voice. They rely on hearing from their constituents. And when they hear from a few who say the same thing, they're going to go with that.
Right.
Opposed to hearing from the majority of their constituents, because they may hear a different story, right? And have to vote a different way.
Right.
But goodness, it's just, but there's a lot going on as far as people being encouraged to get their voices heard. We had, and a big deal in the charter world, by the way, is that Harold Dutton, a Democrat,
right,
placed at the head of the public ed committee, but he is super pro-charter.
Oh, interesting.
That has just sent the ISD world into a tizzy.
Oh, I am quite sure
Dr. Good,
that.
you're smiling. You're laughing and smiling. Dr. Good, is there just a wee bit of happiness in that? I'm just checking.
Well, there last legislative sessions there were 42 bills that were filed in a negative way against charter.
Right.
Don't think that there will be that many this legislative session because there's just so much going on. But they're still out there. There's still people who are not understanding how we are really side by siders next to the ISDs, that we really were created by a Democrat-led legislative body back 25 years ago
Right.
to help improve ISDs, and that actually there is all sorts of research that shows that when a charter school goes into an ISD area, in a few years that ISD improves. There's just all sorts of real legitimate research that shows that. So we just need to get everybody understanding that we're not, on opposing sides, that we're all working towards the same goal of meeting the needs of kids and helping kids get better so that our economic future has a chance of getting better.
Absolutely. And it's so good that you've got a show every Sunday where you can talk about that and you can promote that, and people can learn how to be that advocate for the ISDs, for the charter schools, for public ed, for their child. That's important stuff. What are you going to be covering this week?
Well, we'll be talking more about the politics and the Biden politics around the federal changes coming. We'll also do some financial literacy. Financial literacy is something that we need to do all year,
Yes.
but it's always good to start at the beginning. People's psyches are interesting at the beginning of the calendar years, and so they tend to want to start new things. And so
Right.
I'm always trying to encourage people to bring on some good family practices. Not only, yes, we should be doing them in the schools, but don't wait for the schools to do them, right? How's that working for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. How's that been working for you? Exactly. That's
So
true.
we'll be talking about that also. And really what people need to understand is all of this stuff that I bring, I don't dream it up. All I have to do is keep an eye on the news and the public education venues that pop these articles and this research up for me. So nothing I say is anything but research based, as well it should be, right?
Right.
So we will see you 8 o'clock Sunday morning. Don't
Can't
forget
wait. Yay.
to make comments and to let your friends know about it too. And to
Excellent.
like our page, by the way. I'm really working on trying to get everybody to like our page.
Love it, love it, love it.
Well, go like the page.
Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Talk
All right.
soon.
Well,
Happy
Dr. Be Good, thank you. And
Valentine's.
keep us updated on the legislature's process.
Yes, sir.
We need to know.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Dr. Good.
All right. Take care, Dr. Good. Have a good day.
You too.
All right. Catherine
Always,
Ann. Well, you ready to?
always good stuff. Just always great stuff. And I tell you, if even if your kids are grown and gone, and they're off on their own, what happens in public education still impacts your property taxes, your property value of your home. It impacts crime. It impacts the mental health world, all of that stuff. If you want to have a city that's thriving and live in a city that's thriving, you've got to have thriving education systems in place.
Well, and you know what? We need to go to Joel Scrivner to
Talk about
Winology and find out
thriving.
about how to thrive.
Love it.
Good morning, Joel.
How are you?
Good.
Good
Are you able to start
morning.
your video with us this morning or no?
Let me see here. Oh, there we go. I thought that I had. I guess I hadn't. I can't see you guys.
Man, look at that
There he
handsome
is.
dude.
Hey,
Well,
Joel.
I put some beard oil in just for you there, JP.
Hey, I love that. I'm gonna tell you, I used to use beard oil. Makes a man look sexy.
That's what I was going for this morning. I figured that would help people out. Just want to bless people and help them start their morning out right.
That's a
There
good
you
way to
go.
start your morning. That's
Well,
right. Well,
it's good to
first of all,
see you,
good
Joel.
morning.
Thank you. Good morning to you all.
And thank you for coming to us. You've got an event up here at Venture X on February the 11th. Joel, tell us all about that.
Well, my friend Leon reached out to me. They've got a great venue there. I know you guys are very familiar with
Oh,
the
we
venue.
love it.
And wanted to do something special to invest in their clientele, invest in their tenants there, and also reach out to the community, and thought this would be a great time to do an event that would bring people together, a little wine, cheese, whatever, network a little bit, and then inspire people. And so my specialty, I was a professional martial artist, was on the U.S. Taekwondo team, I'm a 6'3" black belt. I traveled the world, fought and competed against some of the toughest middleweights. I used to be a middleweight, not so much anymore. But back in the day, fought and competed and won the world championships. I've got 4 gold medals at the world championships, 6 national titles.
Wow.
And I had a really fun and exciting career teaching and training and developing fighters and competitors, and then made a shift into the nonprofit and the self-help space, and have spent the last 20 years developing people and helping people win in life, their businesses, marriages, relationships, everything, that kind of a deal. And so I wrote a book called Winology and created a system called Winology that connects the ancient history and wisdom and things that I've studied my whole life, whether it's from Asia or the Middle East or whatever, different cultures, and combine those in with modern principles, ancient principles, and modern examples, really, to create a system that can help anybody win in any area of their life at a higher level than they are currently, if they can just apply these principles and building blocks. So the actual program that we're going to do on tomorrow night, Thursday night, is a program. I'm calling it Hostage Negotiator. Last year, 2020 took a lot of people hostage. There are a lot of people that their visions were hijacked, their plans were hijacked.
Right.
Instead of us being together, life has changed, and there are a lot of people that are really struggling right now. I've watched people crater during the season. And wise people are aligning themselves with people that can help them to think the right way, have the right type of mindset, and elevate themselves to a new level in life and really overcome. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow night, are some principles of how you can negotiate really with yourself, who's been taken hostage, and re-win the battle in your own heart and your own mind, and essentially awaken your vision again and push forward toward the future. So I'm excited about it. My specialty, anybody that is adventurous, is an achiever, is a go-getter, whether it's sales, management, business, whatever, is going to love this type of a session. And my specialty is working with teams, specifically executives and teams, to help them to accomplish their goals, have a champion mindset, and build a great future.
Love it. I love it. Yeah.
So Joel, first and foremost, I guess, everything starts off with a positive outlook, I would imagine, right? So give us just a real, a snapshot of what Winology looks like. I know that's terrible because it's a big old book, but it can be simplified down into this. The Winology is the science or the study of winning. And there's a reason that winners win. There's a reason that Tom Brady just annihilated, Kansas City,
the Kansas City Chiefs the other night. He thinks differently. Right. And it's not, as far as talent goes, it's not that he's more talented than Mahomes. Mahomes is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league,
Right.
It's incredible. But Tom Brady thinks a certain way. He sees the world through a certain lens. And what I found in my studies and my research is that all top level competitors, winners in every field, they have a common mentality. And there are specific traits that they share. And it doesn't matter if they're in computer science. It doesn't matter if they're in art, music, sport, business, finance. It doesn't matter. It's a way that they think. It's a competitive edge. So that idea, what you talked about with positivity, there's a place inside of each of our hearts and souls. It's a place of hope. It's a place of faith, right? Faith is way bigger than just religion. Faith is about your belief system for life. And so if you don't have the right belief system, if you're not perceiving the world through the right lens, right? In this season, there were businesses that crashed and people that lost everything. And in this season, there were other people that saw opportunity that others couldn't see, and they were able to maximize opportunity, and they had their greatest gain season that they'd ever had because of their ability to see and perceive and pick their pathway to navigate around obstacles and through circumstance and find a winning solution.
So, Joel, one of the things that I want to make sure people take away from this is, one, your book. And two, the message that book has to deliver on Thursday night. And so how do people get a copy of your book? I know that Fred Nort from the crew can't wait to see you tomorrow night. He's coming out.
Well, he's a life coach as well. There's, and this is for people in all. It doesn't matter if you think you're at the top of your game. If people partner with you, they can reach heights that they never imagined. If somebody
Right.
is literally starting over from scratch, Joel, and we've talked about this with mental health taking such a hit, and with all of the things that have happened in 2020 with the pandemic, people having their life savings wiped out just to stay afloat. You can help them regain all of that.
Yeah. So everybody that comes, it's a $25 ticket. I'm sure most people will consume enough to cover the cost of the $25.
Wine and cheese.
And they're going to get a book for free. Everyone's going to get a copy of my audiobook. I read it myself. Brad Pitt was going to do it, but he was a little busy. So I went ahead and read it myself. And I think people will really enjoy it. It's my life story. It's the story. And just to be real clear with you guys, this isn't just about a guy that was a fighter and a champion or whatever. That's not where I really proved this system out, is overcoming from the greatest loss of my life, which was the loss of my first daughter, O'Neill, to brain cancer. So my wife and I were absolutely devastated with that many years ago. And I, for the first time in my life, had to battle through depression. I had to battle through thoughts of suicide. I had to battle through hopelessness. And these principles that I have put together in this book, literally it's the system of belief and faith and personal practice that I use to come back to the place of being a champion again in all the different aspects of my life. And look, I'm a regular dude. I mess up. I need help. My wife will be the first one to tell you that I am completely fallible, and Lord knows I need him. But at the same time, there are principles that are in place that anybody can put into practice, and it will absolutely help you improve your life and go to the next level. And so, I work with people that executives that literally are all they do. In the business world, they win, yet nobody knows what they deal with when they go home. Nobody knows what their internal struggle is. Nobody knows. And then I work with teams and manage teams of people that are mid-level or even entry level. So these are principles that will work at every single level, whether you're a CEO at a multi-billion-dollar company, you're working on Wall Street, you're whatever. It doesn't matter. Or you're the CEO of homeschool at your house, right? It doesn't. Either way, every single person has new levels of accomplishment and new levels of success and attitudes that need to be sorted through and dealt with in their own personal life so that they can accomplish and be the very, very best they could be. So when you talk about positivity, one of the principles in my book is positive conviction. Positive conviction. When the way that I define that is it's a belief that is so powerful, it propels you into action. Okay. And it's a positive belief, right? When bad stuff happens, there's a negative reality and a positive reality that coexist. They're at the same time. And in every single situation, for example, when my daughter died, you can't deny the horrific negative reality that exists in your life. We fought brain cancer for months. We choked chemo down her throat. We did surgeries and radiation, and it was horrific. It was absolutely excruciating. And at the same time, we were surrounded by our best friends and our family, and our careers were thriving. And every other part of our life, when we really would look at it, was one of the best, incredible, blessed seasons of our life in the same time and season as the worst season of our life. And we had a choice to make. Do we focus on and anchor ourselves to this negative that's very, very real and horrific? Or do we focus on and anchor ourselves to the positives that are also very, very real and wonderful? And the truth, either negative or positive, that you anchor yourself to and focus on is the truth that will lead you into your future.
Absolutely. Amen. Amen.
So well said. And just very much looking forward to you being up here. And we're so glad that you're a member of the crew now. You're officially,
you're a crew member now,
crew,
Joel.
So
come on, man.
You're a crew member, baby.
We're
Now you gotta
excited.
jump on the feet every once in a while so the crew can bounce you around a little bit.
There you go.
Because you're a part of the crew.
We love it. Well, God bless you for the good
All right,
work
so
you do.
one more time. Tomorrow night, what time?
6 o'clock. 6 o'clock at Venture X in Frisco.
And I've already got the link in our feed. So go to the link in our feed, go to their website, sign up, and let's go out and
Easy
see
breezy.
Joel and get a little winology ourselves. Boy,
Love
couldn't
it.
we all use a little winology, that's for sure. So Joel Scrivner, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see
Thank
you tomorrow
you.
night, my friend.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
God bless
All
you,
right,
Joel.
good night. Take care. Well, good night.
Good
morning.
Good morning,
Good
or
morning.
whatever it is. Thanks.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
What
My
a
pleasure.
positive influence
Oh,
he
goodness
is. I
gracious,
mean, that's
yes.
one of those things. I think right now with everything, especially this is the kind. Joel is the kind of person you want to partner with, and you want him to be part of your journey normally. But now, and even with with them saying now, we may be dealing with COVID for another year. We talked about this on Monday. A friend of ours who has COVID for the second time. So you've got to have a better mindset. I think people are going to really have to work with their mindset now. And speaking of working with good mindset, we've got another great guy on the show today.
Who? Who's on the show?
James.
Is that James Sellers?
Yes, it is.
Man, look at
We
that.
see his handsome face.
Look at him smile. He's like, oh, wait a minute, on my camera. They're talking to me now.
He's like, wait, pay attention.
see, poor James is at a disadvantage, right? Because I'm using my mother's laptop,
Right.
and it doesn't have the double camera thing, right? So unless I turn the camera on, James can't see me. So he's like, is there really anybody there?
Things that make you go,
So poor James is at a bit of a disadvantage. So I kind of feel bad for the
Good
dude.
morning.
We can see you and you look great, James.
So there, you can see me
Thank
now,
you.
James. Now you can see me.
All right. I'm officially on.
So James, first
Kathy,
and
JP, how are you all doing today?
We're doing
good.
well.
How are you feeling?
I'm blessed to live in Texas.
Boy, amen.
Oh, amen.
Amen.
Truer words could not be spoken.
So James, just real quick, I'm going to side notice here a little bit. Have you had
Yeah.
any kind of lingering effects from your COVID-19 run?
So as a child, I had asthma, and I had asthmatic symptoms kind of lingering after the few weeks of that. But last week or so, I've been 100%. So
oh, excellent. Good,
back
good,
to normal.
good.
Well,
Thank
that's
you for asking.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. I had a dad yesterday who had COVID-19 January 2nd, and January the 9th, his daughter found him on the floor. He fell off his bed, not breathing, critical care for 10 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, got out. Is now COVID free, but his remnant is cramping in all of his muscles. He stood there in front of me and had to continually stretch his legs out, his arms out, his back, his chest. Every muscle in his body feels like it's cramping. And so I was just curious.
Wow.
Everybody seems to get something different,
It's such a strange, the symptoms are so specific and very varied.
Right.
Man, I hope that person's, who did you say that had that happen?
It was a dad that I had yesterday in the tribunals. We
On
did
the-
truancy tribunals yesterday, and it was one of the dads.
Oh, no.
And in fact,
They
all
having a real
three
tough
caught
time.
it. Yeah, but his was the worst. So I was just curious, and of course, I don't need to invade your personal business in the world, but I know the crew would be interested too, So now I
Well-
want to celebrate with James Sellers. Broke
Absolutely.
Okay.
ground on a new
Good
50,000 square foot facility. Is that right,
Oh,
James?
right. Yeah,
Good
so we are right now behind my building. We have all sorts of earth moving equipment and cement trucks. They're pouring the pillars to support the foundation. Of course, they decided to do this as it's the coldest, nastiest weather we've had in some time. So timing couldn't be worse, but we're looking forward to it. We're actually, we're finishing the building that we started about 10 years ago. And most of the expansion is related to increasing product development and new product design and engineering. We are doing, some expansion on production and warehousing, but most of it is for employee wellness. So we have a full cafeteria. We're going to have
Love it.
places for them to talk and to be creative. Like a cafe, coffee bar with a patio, so they can be able to look over our. We have a nice forest behind the building with a creek, with over a mile of walking trails. We're going to have a sports court where they can play indoor games like racquetball and like indoor volleyball and like a handball type of thing. Weight rooms, cardio. We're actually have a full wellness center. We're yet to be named, but it will be open to the public. So we're going to have several therapies related to wellness, fitness, nutrition. We'll have a chiropractic care on location. My wife Myrna, Dr. Mastery Sellers, is going to be running that clinic for the area. So
How cool is that?
Are you taking applications?
Yeah.
I want to go work there. I want to go to there.
Well, but that's cool though that he got Myrna involved in that.
Love it.
Of course, I feel bad for her.
Actually, she was it was interesting because when we were looking at the space, we were like, oh my gosh, all this is very expensive, and it just wasn't justified to have that time amenities just for us, just for the company itself. We felt like it needed to be utilized, and if there's some way that we could build it the way we want it, still afford it, and then share it with the public, and then enter Myrna into my life. And we talked about the importance of wellness and fitness and health and nutrition, and like this life balance, how important nature and good mental health is.
Yes.
So we went to town kind of thinking it up, and really because of her, we were able to actually realize the full vision. Otherwise, we would have had to scale back. And I don't think there's too many companies that offer that level of employee benefits and care on location. So really excited about that, and can't wait to open. I think our hope now is it will be the best place to work in DFW. So can't wait.
Oh, so excited! Hey, can we do a live remote from there once y'all are up and running with all the new stuff?
Absolutely. We would love to have you guys. You could broadcast straight from our corporation global headquarters in Mansfield, Texas.
That's way exciting stuff.
Yeah, let's go out there and let's do one of our morning shows live from their facility. I mean, that just sounds phenomenal. And I'm so glad that you're it's one of those things, we need to take care of each other and take care of those who support us and love us and who are around us more than ever. And with the lingering effects of the pandemic and the fact that it is still lingering, having a place where, mind, body, and work all go together, I think it's fantastic. And you're right. Where else but in Texas can you do that, James?
That's true. Well, and one of the things I'll just give a shout out to Mother Nature. God had a great vision for us, and it was us to be in balance with nature. And I think mental health and physical health starts with us walking and being outdoors and appreciating the beauty and majesty of nature, whatever that is, whether it's just walking in a park, walking your dog, or fishing, hunting, backpacking, camping, you name it. I think God wants us to be a part of nature and respect it and cherish it. So, we kind of feel like some are, you have a business side, but at the end, it's all about getting people outdoors. And that's what's great at the end of our building. It's that bridge between, work and having a meaningful life of providing value and goods and service to others, and then living a life one with nature and being a part of that. So finally, we're able to bring some of the vision of our company about getting people outdoors and be part of nature to our own employees, which is really nice. So I can't wait to see that realized. And then you guys are definitely going to have to be here for the grand opening. I'd love it if you broadcast.
Oh, hey, that'd be great if we could go out.
Yeah, please let us know that. We would love that.
Yeah, we'll preempt it because we'll be out there early, and then we can continue to broadcast.
Love it.
We'll do an extended remix of the show that day.
Ooh, an extended
mark your calendar, tentatively end of November, beginning of December. So
all right.
I just hope it's mild winter.
Rock on, party on.
Year, so we can do stuff outdoors.
Absolutely.
Great stuff. Thank you, James. We're so glad that you're feeling better and you're on the mend. Thank goodness.
Well, I hope everybody that's been affected by this gets better and everyone's loved ones recover quickly. And, it's time for us to start opening up and reconnecting. If they're saying this thing's going to be around, that COVID is going to mutate and there's going to be different strands, let's hope everybody finds a way through vaccines. Again, health is a big deal, to build up their immune system so that they can be healthy. And when they do get different variants, that their bodies are able to resist the virus and get better. So I'm really hoping this year we start seeing the world get healthy and reconnect. I feel like countries and nations, everybody's just so isolated right now.
Right.
Our own neighborhoods are not in touch with each other. Friends like us, we got to get together in the same studio, breathe the same air again. So can't wait till that gets back to normal.
I couldn't agree more. We just, and again, you keep touching on something that's so near and dear to JP, Kathy, and the crew, and that's the mental health component of all of this, and that includes being mentally healthy, includes being around other people, being around our friends, our coworkers, our peers, whatever the case may be. So if you can find a way to do that and still stay healthy and keep your immune system up, it's huge. Just taking walks outside, if it's walking your dog, if you're stuck working from home, go on, make your 10-minute breaks throughout the day. Be you at least just go out and, walk to your mailbox and back, or walk down the street and back, or walk around the block and back, or go to a park and walk around the park. That vitamin D is huge. That natural vitamin D that you can only get through the sun is imperative for us.
100%.
All right. So, James, I know you have a hard stop in 10 minutes, and I want to get to what's going on Capitol Hill.
Are we going to talk NRA?
No. We're setting that up later.
Okay.
No, Capitol Hill.
We've got so much to talk with James about.
We do. Dude, I mean, holy mackerel. Do we just need to put a wall around D.C. and act like we don't know them?
Well, it's interesting. I can't believe that, with this pandemic and the pending economic cliff that we're, fiscally running off of, and the way we're spending and not doing things wisely, that we have time for so many of these discussions about things that really don't make people safer. At the end of the day, they use, these gun control, and they mix it in with words that sound like they're advocating safety. But at the end, it's actually making people less safe. And there's a lot of reasons why that's the case when you look at the specific legislation. I think there's I believe since the beginning of this year, there's like over 100 proposed bills. Let's see if there's a current tally. Last I heard, there's over 100 bills being discussed for gun legislation. I don't know about you, John, but there's so many. I mean, we're becoming death by bills in the United States. So many pages of regulations and laws. No one knows what's in it. It's not universally enforced. It's unclear. So I kind of believe let's focus on less laws and let's make them enforceable, universally enforced, and let's make them good laws. And we have some important laws that need to be needs to be put into the public and enforced properly. So let's focus on the laws we already have that aren't being enforced that should be. And let's fix them in the background checks situation.
Well, here's a crazy concept, James. That's common sense.
Well, Kathy said, "What a crazy concept using common sense."
What are you talking about?
Here's the truth of it. The truth of it is we no longer have statesmen. What we have are politicians, and until we can go out and recruit and run statesmen to go out and hold high office, to watch over our best interests and observe the best interests of our republic, we're not going to have that for a while. It's almost like we've entered a dark era. I can't be more grateful to our forefathers for the way they constructed the Constitution, because even the most progressive idiots haven't been able to destroy it yet. The key word being yet, because they continue to try to destroy it. But, James, I don't know. We have got to go out and find statesmen to run for office.
Yeah. Well, John, when are you running for office again?
Well, and you know what's funny? And I hate to turn this into a conversation about that, but those men weren't perfect, but they were super intelligent, and their heart was with building a union and a republic.
It was with we the people.
Right.
What a crazy concept.
Well, but
we've forgotten we the people.
But and here's where I go with the imperfectness, right? Benjamin Franklin. Man, that dude was something special.
That dude could
Let
party.
me tell you, yes.
Yeah. Don't make them like him anymore.
Yeah, they don't. Thomas Jefferson. He wasn't a perfect man. George Washington wasn't a perfect man. Now, John Adams. Well, John Adams was pretty close. He was pretty crazy close. But a lot of the men that signed that document, they weren't perfect, but they had the ideology right.
Yeah. Well, the difference is I think they started from a position where they knew they weren't perfect, and they built a system because they knew people weren't perfect. And I think the thing is that they were looking at the future and they weren't looking at trying to line the pockets of their
No.
friends and family and the people
Exactly.
that donated to them. They weren't looking at manipulating the law to favor one side or the other. I think they really were trying to create a more perfect union for the longevity of the country, and they put that interest of the future ahead of the current needs of the moment,
Yes.
or themselves or their family and friends or the political cronies out there. Now, not to say they didn't have their moments, because there's definitely, even back in those days, elections were I mean, this history has been founded on some fraudulent elections. There's no question about it. And especially the big political machines later in this, later in New York and Chicago and New Orleans, you could read about, if you want to, I mean, it's definitely a messy process. And the one thing it's taught us that people are not perfect. Some very well-intentioned people have done some pretty awful things. But all in all, those early statesmen, I think, put the public needs ahead of their own. And they decided to do what was right. And they were principled men that studied and read and thought and debated intensely these issues. But I really think the focus, and I think this is where we need to learn from that lesson, is we need to come together and discuss these things for the betterment of the future, what works, not what sounds good in a 30-second soundbite.
Or what looks good, or James, what looks good on
instantaneous gratification. State building is not easy; it's hard, and it takes dedication. You have to sacrifice to get there.
Yeah, and James, something you said, and this really resonates, that, a 30-second soundbite. And think of what social media has done to our elected officials. It's like their reputation and what they put out on social media is taking precedence over good legislation and good governance of our country. And we're and constantly under attack is our Second Amendment. So you're so spot on when you talk about where the priorities are now.
Yeah. Everyone's worried about keeping in office, and
Yep.
we know that, unfortunately, and again, John, you may know better about this, but the power is in the committees, and the committees are determined by the parties.
Yep.
And I think the original founding fathers had no intention of having the parties as powerful they are.
Exactly.
And you don't get on the committees unless you do what?
Amen.
You raise money for the party.
Yep.
So unfortunately, the whole system from the inside out is focused on money in the short term and taking care of short-term special interests, the ones that pay the biggest bucks. So I do agree that there's some issues
true.
systemically in the way that the committees work and the party's power in politics on both sides.
Oh, I agree.
So, we could talk about that all night.
We could.
We
and
have
I,
an 8-hour show.
I'm doing
on
a
that.
hard stop on both of you. So both of you stop.
It's
Okay.
good stuff.
I've got 3 minutes left. I want to know, I want you to tell our listeners who to call,
Okay.
Not who to call, but pick a bill. What bill should we be sending our listeners to call their congressman, congresswomen, to let them know we are not in favor of this? Because we're Texans, brother.
All right. I personally think there's kind of two areas that are the most dangerous. I think that they're talking about banning. Any ban obviously is bad, like banning braces, banning high capacity magazines, banning semi-automatic rifles. I think those are bad. But I think the thing you have to watch out for is when they're talking about these things is the power of taxation and regulation. So I think where the gun industry has the biggest, or our right to have the Second Amendment, protect ourselves, is with the availability and affordability of ammo. We cannot allow the government to tax ammo to the point that we can't afford it. And two, I think that the liability side of the manufacturing, if they make a homeowner responsible and have to carry insurance to protect their family, is wrong. I think if a manufacturer who buys a product that's not used the way it was intended for law-abiding purposes becomes responsible for criminal activity, I think I honestly think it's the cost of ammo, and it's the cost of, or the regulation of the liability of manufacturing and the right to defend yourself has to be protected at all costs. And it's not going to get the headlines. It's not going to get a lot of attention, but we have to protect those two things.
Excellent. Well, and we encourage the crew, go out there and let your congressman know. Call 3 congressmen in your local area. Call your congressman for sure, because that's a person who's going to be up for re-election here in less than 2
Yes.
years. and let your voice be heard. And you can send an email, you can make a phone call, and those all go down. So when they go in front of these committees or when they go to vote, they can say, hey, I've had 4,000 constituents in the last 24 hours or 48 hours who have called me and said ABC, kind of a thing. It's just that easy at the end of the day, James.
Yep, it is. And if you ever want to go through some of the states have a ton of activity happening and specific things people try to do. I'd love to talk more about some of the general types of legislation that's happening and specific states. I would just recommend, I know we're about to stop, the National Shooting Sports Foundation, which is nssf.org, is an industry organization that we support, and they're out there fighting every day to protect our Second Amendment rights and to support the industry. I would go to that site, look at information. They have a lookup by state as well as national, which you can see the current status of legislation that's going through the committees and being read on the floor. So look forward to talking more about this, John. I think this is a big topic, and Kathy, I can't wait to see you guys next time.
Well,
Can't wait.
what I'd like to
And
do,
we want
James.
to talk NRA next time.
Well, what I'd like to do, James, on the second Wednesday in March, because that's when we're scheduled to come back again. Sadly, we need James a little more, I think, especially during legislative time. You know, James, you need to consider maybe let's bump this up another
At least,
Wednesday.
Yeah, at least 2 times a month.
During Capitol Hill being stupid, because that's where we're at. But
Right now, everybody is, every association and advocacy group is meeting with their representatives and doing Zoom calls and trying to tell them what we need. So if there's time to speak, if you have a representative that will listen to you by a town hall, any opportunity you get, you let them know where you stand.
So what I'd like to do that second Wednesday in March is let's start at 7:45 and get a good solid 45 minutes in. And I'd like, if we can, have the NRA scheduled to come on that day and even kick around legislation with them. Not only their move to Texas and what they're expecting in Texas, which, by God, they better be expecting a big old barbecue. That's
big
all I
old
can say.
Howdy and welcome.
Yeah. But also talk
Come
about
on over.
talk about legislation, who we need to be calling, that kind of thing.
Okay. So we'll start on March 10th, and I'll see about having somebody join me from the NRA.
That'd be fantastic.
Sounds great. And like I said, we'll start at 7:45. All right, James?
All right, got it. We'll talk to you soon, John.
All right.
Kathy.
Take care,
so
James.
much.
Thank you so much.
God
All right,
bless
take
you.
care. All right. Bye-bye.
All right.
Great
so,
info. Love what he is doing with his company. Love his, encouragement for everyone to serve as an advocate. If you want to protect your Second Amendment rights, I mean, JP, pun intended, we are under fire, and we are going to have to really fight. Now, thankfully, and I'd like to ask him what he hears about gun legislation here in Texas. Of course, the things that I'm seeing, the majority of the stuff I see as far as what most likely will be passed looks good. But for the next 2 years in D.C., we have got to fight for our ability to keep the Second Amendment preserved. You've got, unfortunately, with the pandemic, JP, we've got, and you know this, drug use is up, alcoholism's up, spousal abuse, domestic abuse, crime is up. You've got people who are in desperate times, and as a result, you've got to be able, if we lose our fundamental right to protect our home and our family and ourselves, what do we have? You've got people with just crazy things. There was a term, and I'll have to remember it, that I learned on a movie that my husband and I watched the other night. And it's where people come and they basically will set up shop in a basement or an attic or a guest room, and you don't even know they're there, and they've broken into your home. I mean, there's some crazy stuff going on right now. You've got to be able to protect yourself.
I agree.
period.
I agree wholeheartedly. That's where we're at, though, right?
It is.
Again,
It is.
the problem is that we don't have statesmen running the country. We have politicians, and James couldn't be more right that this is becoming, and it's hurting us. It's becoming a power struggle between the parties. We don't have parties working together, and that divide started with Barack Obama's presidency. Like it or lump it, it is the case. And then we have become so overly sensitive that we have things like Mark Cuban no longer playing the national anthem
Lord have
to start off
mercy.
Mavericks games.
Done. We're not even gonna.
I will not watch the NBA anymore. I'm done with the NBA.
We're done. I think that's horrific. I think that is such an overreaction. I think that is catering to a very small percentage of people in the country who have decided they want to live in America and have all the freedoms that we have in America, but they don't want to be patriotic. Give me a break. Goodbye. Done. Shut it down. And Nathan said something. He's on our Facebook feed today, which you can join us at JPK Broadcasting Network. Please go and like our page. We're going to start next week, pushing our new YouTube page. So we're trying to beef up our social media social media presence. That's what I'm looking for. But Nathan had a really good point. He said once they take it, it is impossible to get back. And Nathan is spot on.
He's absolutely spot on.
You've got to fight the good fight. Now I see Leon has joined us and Lisa has joined us and James Ricks. Oh, my oldest friend, not old like old, but the friend that I've had the longest. We've known each other since, second grade, James? First grade? Second grade, I think, yeah. Anyways, just really, really, really want to encourage you. It's just as easy as calling your congressman's office and saying, I want my Second Amendment rights protected. Call both United States senators here if you're in the state of Texas, or if you're joining us from another state, which I know Elizabeth's joining us from Arizona. Call your United States senators, call your local congressman, and let them know you want your ability to protect yourself, your home, and your family preserved. I can't believe it's 2021 and we're having to fight for this.
Oh, yeah.
Is that crazy?
No, it's not crazy. It is what it is. It's almost like social media and a lot of things that rushed in this era of technology has really been able, because you can reach the masses now on your own messaging, and people
with your own message, true or not.
Well, and that's what I was getting ready to say. People will believe anything and everything they see on social media, and it's like, and then you've got people that will mislead, like AOC, for example, saying that Ted Cruz threatened to murder her.
We're having such a nice day.
I'm like, really, seriously? I mean,
Give me a break.
Ted Cruz never threatened to murder you.
No.
And never put you in harm's way. I mean, and then you lie about these people coming on your floor and wanting to attack the insurrection.
Even some of her own folks and supporters have turned on her and said this is like who was the guy we reported on from that show? James Smollett, or the guy who ended up who said that he had been attacked by a Trump supporter.
Oh, yeah.
News put around his neck and all this stuff, and then it turned out he just wanted some attention because he was renegotiating his contract, or
the actor,
whatever the case may be. So she's actually getting some backlash on that. I'm anxious to see how that plays out and how she tries to spin that. But getting back to you mentioning the Mavericks thing, I'm so beyond disappointed that when we talked about that this morning, we were doing our pre-production meeting. I was dumbfounded. I still am shaking my head. I'm so stunned that this is a decision that has been made that it just breaks my heart. I love the NBA. I've always been a ginormous NCAA basketball fan, NBA fan. I remember when the kids were still little and we won. The Mavericks brought the trophy back and we were the champions and we got to go to downtown Dallas and be part of the parade, and it was so much fun. It was so exciting. I'm retiring. I've got my Dallas Cowboy ball cap on today because I know we're going to talk a little post Super Bowl, and next year's our year. Next season's our season. But I'm retiring my Dallas Mavericks ball cap. You won't see that on JP, Kathy, and the crew any longer. I am when it's not okay to be patriotic and pay tribute to your country, then you know what? I'm done. If you don't like it here, go to another country. See if you get paid $1 bajillion to play basketball in another country, and if you can just say whatever you want against that country. God bless freedom of speech. It's a double-edged sword, and I'm going to practice my freedom of speech by not supporting the Mavericks any longer, and that breaks my heart. Great sport. Love it. We'll miss it. We'll absolutely miss it dearly, but it is what it is.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, it is what it is means that we're done. And I don't understand the take on this. I don't know why. it doesn't support a movement. If nothing else, the national anthem gave birth to Take a Knee movement, and so why you would want to remove that, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Especially for what it was used for, which was to get people back excited again about being American. And so taking it away, does that mean that you're doing the opposite, which is trying to make people not excited about being American? Again, there's this huge social progressive movement. What I think is funny is you have all of the minions falling in line, right? So again, this goes back to the wealth disparity argument, which is 10% of the people have 90% of the resources, 90% of the people have 10%. And guess who's dangling the carrot? It's that 10%, and then the 90% of the people are just following along, and it's all what it all comes down to. What I've learned is it all comes down to power and money.
Right.
And it's a power grab and a money grab. And so why are the rest of us falling in line? Why are we not demanding
We're
that
not. The crew's
statesmen
not.
take over?
Yeah.
Well, but we are. We got to do more. We're not doing enough. We need to find statesmen to run for office and start doing things that are about the republic and the people that live in it, not about their pocketbooks or their power grab. And I'll tell you how I can prove it's a power grab, because you now have the parties kicking people off of committees because they don't like them.
Congresswoman Green.
And well, and Macy may be next. I mean,
and here's the thing. Again, if somebody is, we the people decide who goes to Congress. Then now, and you can argue with how committees are chosen and all that kind of stuff. And like James Seller said just a little while ago on our show, and if you didn't get a chance to watch that or Joel Scrivner's interview, please go back after the show. We'll post this and make it shareable. We can look at the way that these committees are assigned, and we can lay blame for a lot of things there. But at the end of the day, the only people who should have the right, unless you cross some insurmountable line, but the only people who should be able to say, no, you're not going back, you're not going to be on any committees because I'm not reelecting you, is, hello, we the people. That's it. Plain and simple.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
So anyways, I guess the bottom line is that we're going to get what we deserve if we don't step up and start making a change ourselves. And we demand from the people that we have elected to act as statesmen.
Right.
And it starts off in other districts. I mean, AOC, Elon Omar, these people are so corrupt. I mean, if you go and just
Nancy
Google.
Pelosi.
Well, but I mean, I'm talking about even, well, okay, yeah, don't take me off my I'm going to throw my phone at you. Stop it.
A squirrel.
So, but Elon Omar, all you got to do is Google the news articles coming out about how she has been spending campaign money, where she's been funneling it, how her husband has been the benefactor of her campaign money. If nothing else, that is unethical. Give me a break here. And yet they get to continue to operate. So it is. It's a money grab. It's a power grab. And we are going to suffer as a result of it.
Absolutely.
And how do they drive this country? With fear. And it blows
that's
me
what they're
away.
doing. Well, fear, and then I'm going to go back to, was it last week that you mentioned the word tyranny? And usually I'd be like, okay, we're getting kind of extreme. This is JP and I being emotional. But I want to, again, I told you I was going to bookmark that every single week. And that is, if we are going to let tyranny take over in this country, if we are going to let a handful of people who just happen to be elected to Congress direct the message for our country and dictate that patriotism is not okay, then this is a sad day in America. Again, you've got to understand, the pendulum will swing. The other party will, Republicans will be back in power. This is how government works. The pendulum swings one way and the other. But at some point, we're going to lose it all. And is the other shoe, are we going to let the other shoe drop when we're back in power? Again, why does it have to be this game? And you wonder why good people don't run for office. This is why.
And Nathan points out, he says, did we forget that the NBA bowed to China first? No, I absolutely remember that. And he goes, lost me then.
Yep.
And I'll be honest with you, Nathan, with the NBA, pretty much after the Celtics-Lakers rivalry and guys like Bird and Magic and Kareem and Cooper and Dennis Johnson, and once we lost those guys, even Rodman,
Charles Barkley,
as crazy
all
as he
those guys,
was,
yep.
Carl Malone, John Stockton.
Yep.
I mean, I can just name the names. It seemed like it became thugs or us, number one. Now it's become, let's be super political. And I get it, like the majority of their players and personnel fall into a certain political movement, but now you've turned it into that. We don't allow sports just to be sports. The Super Bowl, we're getting ready to transition to that. I was disappointed in the NFL. I mean, the halftime show was horrible. It was moderately bad. I mean, goodness gracious. First
You
of
did
all,
not like The Weeknd.
I didn't. Well, okay, first of all, it's not The Weeknd I didn't like. I thought he sang fine. I think he's a good little entertainer. But here's my thing. When was the last Super Bowl we only had one person lead the halftime show?
Or somebody who, and again, you know, and The Weeknd to me is a newer artist to the scene. The only reason I know of him is because of my kids. If not, I would have been like, who's Mr. The Weeknd? You know, but if we've looked at, you know, J-Lo and Shakira, who everybody knows, Lady Gaga, who everybody knows, you know, all of these different, I mean, my goodness, over the years, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Michael Jackson, U2, just all of these different folks.
But you had multiple people. Even with
Well,
those guys, you had.
Not necessarily.
Well, no, they had somebody else next to them. Like you had a guy like The Weeknd, then you had a superstar like Lady Gaga.
Yeah. Now some of these have been just individual. You know, Prince, Michael Jackson. Some of these have just been individuals, but they command that because they've got decades of music and they're established in pop culture. I think everybody was really confused. Everybody's like, why do they have jock straps on their face?
Yep.
That was the biggest comment.
Well,
that I
and then
saw
people
on
putting
social
underwear on their
media.
head.
Yeah, I know. All the memes that came out after. Well, in The Weeknd, and again, you would have to be like a hardcore music follower of the younger generation's music to know that this is part of a theme, that he's done this in videos, he did this at the Grammys. He's trying to make a statement on extreme plastic surgery in Hollywood and the absurdity of it. Well, but how many people watching, and think of your demographics that watch the Super Bowl. It's more of the middle-aged folks that are watching that Super Bowl, that are having the Super Bowl parties, that are going out to the bars and, you know, buying the drinks and buying the food. I think it didn't, I don't think it translated. All I know is I've got a group of friends, and two ways we can go next year with the Super Bowl. And I'd love to know, JP, who you'd love to see as your ideal halftime. I would love to see Motley Crue perform at the Super Bowl. I think that would be fantastic. Then they could throw in a young artist that could come up and sing one of their songs with them. Kind of like how Miley Cyrus did pregame. She sang with Joan Jett. She sang with Billy Idol, and it was awesome. My other ultimate halftime show is Salt and Pepper, and then have an appearance by En Vogue, since they did a song together back in the day.
En Vogue. You're hilarious.
Love. Oh, you think I'm going to start? I'm messaging both of those bands today.
Well, I'll have to think that through, but I've got a band in mind, and they've got Black Sabbath's bass player in their band, and so it may be that.
Ooh, okay.
I'll have to stay informed on that one.
Stay in tune.
Stay informed on
Stay
that
tuned.
one. So some of the ads that came out.
In tune and tuned.
And I want to move to the ads after I talk just very briefly about the game. First of all, shocked by the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs didn't score a touchdown. Don't know how that happens, but it happened.
It was all field goals, yeah.
Yeah, and so, you know,
Yeah.
you absolutely expect to have Pat Mahomes in the end zone at some point in 4 quarters. Didn't happen. Worst loss ever handed to Pat Mahomes in the NFL. Last time he
You could
lost
tell
by
he was
multiple
hurting.
digits, was at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Which,
He's
by the
never
way, is
lost-
something.
He's never lost that big of a margin in the NFL, correct?
Right.
Yeah,
that is
I mean,
correct.
that was
Never.
tough.
That's
That
what I'm
was
saying.
tough.
So, and first of all, to be able to do that, that's amazing, by the way. So hats off to Pat Mahomes. How about this? How about I actually feel bad for the guy? I think that Pat Mahomes had a better game than anybody as an individual, even Tom Brady. I mean, this guy was constantly getting knocked down, having to run out of the pocket. I have never seen anybody be able to throw, not even my buddy Joe Montana or Dan Marino, be able to run out of the pocket, falling down parallel with the ground,
And throwing a
throw a
pass.
spiral
Yes.
into the end zone. Why is that important? Because the end zone's always crowded. into the end zone, hit the dude in the face mask.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, the wide receivers were paid off by Vegas.
How did he get? I mean, that's the thing. We're like, oh gosh, he's already literally in falling motion and throwing a beautiful.
He was
pass.
parallel with the ground.
I was like, how? He is, and you've got to give Pat Mahomes credit. That was a tough game, and I think emotionally, I think Tom Brady and his team, Gronkowski and all of those, they had the emotional edge, which led them to be the hungrier team, and they wanted that win. I even watched the interviews with Tony Romo and Tom Brady and Tony Romo and Pat Mahomes, and I even said after that, and then I saw an interview with Ron Gronkowski, and I looked at my husband and I said, I think Tampa Bay takes it and they take it big. I said, because I can tell these were interviews done probably 2-3 days ago, before the game or whatever. I said, I can just tell by the interviews that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers want to win this for Tom Brady and themselves more than anything. You can just tell. And it was like that from the very beginning. Kansas City never got off the ground. I mean, they scored first. They had the first field goal. After that, there was nothing. There was just nothing.
Well, and this is something I've talked about forever. You don't have to be the best talent on the field to win. There is a certain swagger. There is a certain methodology for somebody who wins. It's like the Winology seminar that's coming up tomorrow night.
Yes.
I mean, there
yes.
just is. And I agree with Joel. Tom Brady has that I'm just going to win.
He has that mindset.
Right. I mean, it was funny. When I played football, I was not the fastest guy on the field. But at middle linebacker, nobody was coming my way and getting away.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter.
It was your mindset.
That's right. And so you just found ways to make things happen beyond your talent. And Tom Brady can do that. Pat Mahomes will grow into that because he already has the talent.
He's crazy
He is
talented.
crazy
but I tell
talented.
you what, you cannot, I don't care if you don't like Tom Brady. I don't care what your thoughts are on him. You cannot deny that man is the greatest of all times. I mean, there will never be another quarterback like him. Somebody would, at this point, have to get 8 Super Bowl rings.
See, I don't think the Super Bowl rings represent you being the greatest of all time. And here's why. You take Joe Montana. He took a Kansas City Chiefs team that had no business being in the AFC Championship and took them to the AFC Championship. Joe Montana on his back. Now he doesn't have 8 rings.
No. But he's good. Tom Brady, you just can't deny him.
Tom Brady has had people around him. If Pat Mahomes has 3 starting offensive linemen, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go down by 30. Pat Mahomes no, I don't agree with that. Pat Mahomes didn't have an offensive line, and this is what drives it back home. The offensive line and defensive line is everything in football. If you can't protect your quarterback, if you can't open lanes, you make your game one-dimensional, and that's what happened. Kansas City became one-dimensional. They didn't have the front 5.
Did you watch them even on the bench? And I would look at like Pat Mahomes and some of the lead guys for Kansas City. They didn't have the same look they normally have when they're sitting on the bench. They looked beaten and defeated, even sitting on the sidelines. And I just think emotionally, I'll always think Tampa Bay just had the edge. They were just hungry.
I think the game changes with 3 starting offensive linemen on the offensive line.
And goodness, we're not talking about Kansas City in the past tense by any means. That is a team that will be competitive for years and years to come. But I'm still holding out for Dak.
Oh, yeah. Good luck. Good luck.
I do have my cowboy hat on
So,
today.
with all that being said, the bottom line is that when when your game becomes one-dimensional, you can't play it in a Super Bowl. And Kansas City became one-dimensional. And so that's what cost them. And then the defense can't continue to maintain throughout the game. And I mean, the time of possession was unbelievable. The defense was on the field way too much the first half and then way too much the second half. So, but there was also felt they were flat.
I see, and that's I've got a few that stand out to me, either emotionally that brought me to tears, or a couple that were funny. But for the most part, kind of I love Matthew McConaughey. Was the flat Matthew kind of funny? Yeah, because as a former teacher but then both my kids in school did the flat Stanley thing. I was like, okay, it was kind of okay. I liked Wayne and Garth. I'm not a fan of Cardi B, so I kind of had a tough time stomaching that commercial. And again, love Wayne and Garth. I love Wayne's World. I would say the Jeep commercial where they were actually referring to a church and America, and that really spoke to me, and I was so happy to see patriotism and Christ as a part of a Super Bowl commercial. Loved, talk about a pro-life, pro-adoption story, the swimmer who had to have her legs amputated, and the mother,
now that was way cool. Tears on that deal.
I got chills just talking about it again. What were your favorites?
Well, the church one with the Jeep.
Yeah.
Here's what's interesting about that. Super liberal company. Very liberal. And so to see that, I was shocked.
I was taken aback.
Now, and here's the thing, though. It was almost like, what are liberals doing with that? And because
you think there's like a secondary message?
I had
out.
people reach out to me and say, "No, JP, I don't think that's
may not be what it was.
Yeah.
What it seemed to be at first. Interesting, and again, we'll see where that goes." At face value, when you first saw it, I'm like, "Are they talking about going to a church? And is he lighting a candle at a church? And do I see red, white, and blue stuff everywhere?" Okay.
Yeah, they were. See, I had a lot of people reach out to me and tell me, "Well, that's a reference to Joe Biden being Catholic." And so I'm like, well, I don't know if I believe that, but it's interesting that the company did. So
being Catholic, yet he supports third trimester abortion. Okay,
let's see
I'm trying
if we
to
can
adjust my head as a Catholic around that.
Let's see if we can get sound on this.
Probably when 2020 handed us all those lemons.
The lemons.
2020 was a lemon of a year.
This was funny. So Budweiser did not do a commercial, right? And even though
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
that was way bad. Look at the guy laughing. Bam, right in the head. So Budweiser didn't do a commercial, but their Anheuser-Busch's subsidiaries did.
Yes.
So Bud Light seltzers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, it's not a Super Bowl without Budweiser. Yeah, look at that guy's hair. I mean, this was one of my favorites.
This was funny.
You know, and then the guys in the stands on the paper cardboard, I thought that was funny. The wedding where the mom makes a dive.
Well, you know what they say when life gives you lemons.
We know the saying, Mark.
We know the
New Bud Light
yeah.
Seltzer Lemonade, packed with lemonade flavor after a lemon of a year.
After a lemon, and isn't that the truth?
Boy, howdy.
So,
Yeah.
Jake came out with his top 10 list.
This video was created for educational purposes as a historical
Oh,
archive, so people
this was
from
all
the
the
future
fake.
can see
The
what
It
fake
really
people.
wasn't them. Yeah, that was.
Well,
that
and
was
what's funny is we're sitting there at the Super Bowl, and Chuck, a buddy of mine, looks and goes, "Was that Stallone?" And I'm like, "No, that wasn't him. That wasn't Stallone." Now, M&M's was also a favorite of mine.
We should have just told you it's a boy.
Yeah, we should have just told you it was a
Because
boy.
some of those gender reveal parties
Sorry,
don't
I
go
called you
exactly
Karen.
as
That's my name.
planned.
Sorry, your name is Karen.
I promise.
I love that.
More defense.
Sorry, your name was
Really?
Karen. And they locked red
Might
in the
happen one
car.
more time.
And
So,
yeah.
yeah.
That's the guy from
Did
that
you spell my
show.
Cheetos
He's
again?
Levy is his dad.
Marvin Levy.
Is it Marvin or Martin Levy? Marvin.
Martin Levy.
He's one of the funniest guys ever.
Wasn't me.
See, I didn't think this was very funny.
Oh, I thought this was funny.
Oh.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't me. And then he's got.
You even had him in the shower.
It wasn't me.
I didn't find it as funny, and I really like her.
And I loved the beat. I was like, "Woo, get down with our bad self." I mean, like, this was like one of the most. This should have been the halftime show.
There you go. Yeah. This is better than the weekend.
This should have been the halftime show right here. I mean, it was hilarious. It wasn't me. I'm telling you, I loved this.
Did you?
Wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
I think they are such a cute
Well, that's the
couple.
first time that's ever worked.
New
Yeah.
Cheetos Crunch Pop Mix.
So yes, that was fun. Now listen to this one. This one was way good too. I liked
Now,
this one.
whose top 10 is this?
This is Jake's top 10.
Who's Jake?
He's on YouTube.
Oh.
He's a guy I watch and follow every once in a while when he posts funny
I
stuff.
don't think I saw this?
Pringles original.
It was Pringles.
Oh, I must have missed this. I must have taken a bathroom break. I didn't see this.
Yeah, see, Pringles was running it. This Pringles was kind of replacing my Pepsi commercial this year. These guys are like, hello, we're 100 years old now. Can someone come get us?
We're saved. We're going home.
This is terrible. Hey, guess what they're playing with? They're stacking Pringles.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, that's
Hey, watch this. Hold on, it gets better. They're dancing. They're having a party. They're singing. They're dancing. The Pringles are empty. And they're still there.
Just a stack. Enjoy carefully.
I like that commercial too. Oh, this was way cool. Did you see this? This is the Bud Light where the truck tips over, and all of a sudden it's like a Marvel.
No, I did not see
a
this.
Marvel commercial. Watch. This was way cool. The Mandalorian.
Oh, is this a dilly dilly? One of those?
No. What's a dilly dilly?
It's the big commercial they done the last few years. They go dilly dilly.
Medieval
Oh
people.
no.
Johnny. Dr. Galagos?
Yes, I am.
Still got those moves?
You know it.
That's Post Malone.
Yes, sir. Or yes, ma'am, it is.
Let's do this.
Here they go. I love the fact they threw the little football helmet Bud Lights in.
My bad.
He killed this fire.
Genius singer.
That's kind of all I do.
Go on, guys.
Okay, that's funny.
So they're gonna, they're putting the Bud Light truck back together. Here's the Mandalorian. He saves the day. Watch this. This gets way funny, even funnier.
You got it.
Oh,
See ya. And he never recovers. He doesn't get his jetpack going.
I loved you, man.
I loved you, man.
Yeah.
Out of here.
Let's get out of here.
That's how I love you, man, from back in the day.
Yep.
Bud Light legend saved the day.
So
That's funny.
that was a good commercial.
That's funny.
It had the Star Wars theme. This is my portal, Post Malone. So now this one I thought was good too.
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting twist.
through their
Yeah.
minds when the stakes are this high?
So yeah, so I think there were some fun commercials out there. I enjoyed them. Not all of them were.
I've got to
We're
tell
the
you,
best, but-
of course, I make no secret about it, and we've done a whole segment on this. I love the progressive commercials. So right before the Super Bowl started, they had one, and it's the life coach trying to help the people not turn into their own parents. And he gets up on stage, and the first thing he says, and this is hilarious, especially being from Texas, he goes, "Don't say howdy, you're not a cowboy."
Yeah.
I rewound that like 3 times. I just think those commercials are genius. He has a pair of pants, and they're the jeans, but then you zip them off, and they're shorts, and he's like, "Pick a lane," and he throws them away. I mean, those commercials are hilarious. Those are so funny.
Well, so here's, I guess, my thing on the Super Bowl this year is that it definitely was flat. The game was boring because Casey could never get anything going. The commercials were flat. You got to have Budweiser.
They were okay. And again, I think it's interesting. A lot of years I get ticked off at the commercials. Oh, and we've talked about it after the Super Bowl. We've been mad because they're trying to shove a message down our throat. I didn't think there was any. It didn't seem like anybody had an agenda this year.
Again, it was boring. It was flat.
And so I'm like, okay, do I want just more generic commercials, or do I want to get ticked off of the commercials? I want to feel moved, or I want to just be cracking up. Beavis and Butthead. Okay, sorry, I'm going to show my maturity. I thought the Beavis and Butthead commercial was funny when they're talking about. I guess it was for Paramount Movie Channel or streaming or something. And the lady's like, "Oh my goodness, there's a crack," and then Beavis and Butthead go, "She said crack," and then they start laughing like only Beavis and Butthead can. That was funny. Kind of just took me back to my, back to my 20s when I heard.
How about when younger kids go, "Who's Beavis and Butthead?"
Oh yeah, most of them.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
That happened.
Yeah.
So I guess again, my final take is that you got to have Budweiser, you got to have the Clydesdales. You're going to have a Dodge commercial where you got to have it because they really hit home as well. And Jeep tried to, and I was pleased with the fact that we did have a celebration of Christ and the church, and the fact that we need to come to the center of the United States again. Let's come back to the middle, because that was definitely the political message, was let's come back to the middle, blue and red. So there was your political commercial, Kathy, where Jeep was saying both sides need to come back to the middle.
Well, and actually, and it was, to me, it promoted being patriotic, which I love, and it promoted, being able to go to your place of worship and worship. And that some of the greatest things about our country is our religious freedom, which we've got to have Lathan back on because there's been some new updates with
Right.
good for religious freedom and not so good for religious freedom here lately. But freedom of speech, freedom to worship your at the church or place of worship of your choice, the ability to protect yourself and your family, the ability to have your own mind and make your own living and live the American dream if you work hard. That's all good stuff. And I just think right now in D.C. it's lost. And we'll talk more on Friday about it. But with impeaching a president who's no longer president, is this what the taxpayer dollars needs to be going towards right now, JP?
Right.
Help me out.
I'll come back to Super Bowl because we're having to close up.
What time is it?
It's after 9 o'clock.
Oh, snapdragons.
Right.
Okay. Time flies when you're having
Time
fun.
flies. So, again, I go back to, for me, the Super Bowl was flat. The halftime show was flat. There was an interesting message within the halftime show. Not a fan of that as well. I don't blame the weekend at all. The NFL production team that came in and ran the halftime show, shame on you.
He spent $7 million of his own dollars on that, is what I've read. I think I sent you an article on that.
You're kidding me.
You don't, and actually, it's an interesting article, and we probably can talk more about this on Friday. Actually, halftime, you don't get paid to do it. So there's a whole interesting way that they make money off of it. But $7 million, he did his own production, spent $7 million on it of his own.
If he was responsible for the entire production of the halftime show, shame on the NFL for allowing it, and shame on him for not being more entertaining.
We got to hear more about that.
Yeah.
On Friday.
That sounds good. So yeah, overall, thumbs down. One of the worst Super Bowls.
Salt and pepper here next halftime.
One of the worst Super Bowls I've ever watched.
Really? So
all the way around. Oh God, yeah, it was one of the worst.
You didn't get swept away. And again, I've never been, a big, I was never a Patriots fan or anything like that. I got swept into the, good for the 43-year-old quarterback. I got swept into those emotions, and so I enjoyed it.
And again, Tom Brady's Tom Brady. I don't think he's the greatest quarterback of all time. Just because you win Super Bowls doesn't.
Yeah, it's not just the Super Bowls.
He's never carried a team on his back into the Super Bowl and won. It's always been a lot. You take a Michael Jordan.
Tampa Bay was never on the radar for Super Bowl this year.
When Tom Brady and Gronkowski and Antonio Brown showed up, and their defense,
but
yes, they were.
Gronkowski came back for Tom Brady.
Well, but again, I understand that.
Said it.
But what I'm getting to is this: is that Tom Brady had Antonio Brown, he had Gronkowski, he had I think it's Fontenay, if I'm pronouncing that right, at running back. I mean, that guy had a combined like 140 yards. The defense has been very superb. What they've been missing in Tampa Bay for the last couple of years was the quarterback position. And so Tom Brady, again, was surrounded. Ryan Suckup, the kicker, for God's sakes, hit a 52 or 54-yard field goal.
Do you think and I know we need to wrap up because this is so. Do you think the Patriots coach was sitting there going, doggone it?
I don't think, and I said this before, I don't think that Tom Brady wins a Super Bowl with the New England Patriots. I don't think they had the pieces in place. And so Tom Brady has to have the pieces in place. At Michigan,
I think he's such a good leader. I think he brings everybody up to his level.
No, the talent is the talent. Leadership is important because you got to be able to lead, but the talent is the talent. For example, at Michigan, he was a subpar quarterback at Michigan. He was not a superstar.
What was he, like 119th or something like that in the draft?
Right. But that's my point, though. He's a great leader. Don't get me wrong, but he is not the greatest of all time at quarterbacks. Yeah, I mean, there are quarterbacks in front of him.
I mean, I'll go back. I love Roger Staubach. There's some,
Fournette. He had Godwin, Ronald Jones II. I forgot about him. Evans, Gronk, and Fournette. Yeah, I mean, he just. And
Michelle was saying the kicker is a former Kansas City player.
Yeah,
the kicker for Kansas City, the guy with the long hair who usually is spot on, he had an off day. I mean, he was having an off day because he shanked at least one that should have been solid. Interesting. Well, I'm looking forward to the Cowboys being who we are talking about this time next year. And everybody's like, okay, Kathy, hold your breath.
Hey, what's cool is we can argue about it. that you are caught up on football now.
Yeah,
So now it's
yeah.
time to get caught up on basketball. So we can argue and fight.
NCAA.
Yeah. And baseball.
NCAA.
And baseball.
NCAA, baseball. Yeah, we'll talk baseball. We'll talk hockey. We will talk.
Oh,
we'll
absolutely,
be doing
hockey.
March Madness. Do we know what the March Madness is going to look like? Because Michelle's going to lead us in that again.
They're going to have
Are
it.
they going to do a bubble or?
I don't know.
I wonder
That's
how
a
they
good
do
question.
that. Yeah, has that been decided yet?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
Because that's just around the corner, March Madness.
It is.
We're oh goodness, Friday. We've got to talk about Valentine's Day.
Yes, we forgot about that.
Doggone it, we've got a list.
Doggone it. I love it when you do that. No, doggone it. Leave the dragons out of it.
No, snapdragons. No. Okay, so we've got a list that we're going to be talking about on Friday. Those of you who have been with your spouse or your significant other or your partner for a long time, you've already given a ton of Valentine's Day gifts. What do you give to somebody you've been with, 20 years or so?
Right. There you
So
go.
we've got a list for you.
Well, Kathy does.
So
Kathy
tune
produced
in.
that. So,
There you go.
but I got some ideas. It maybe has to do with Sarah's Secret
Charles
or
said
something.
we need to talk curling. Okay.
Yes, and talk curling. Absolutely.
They still play the national anthem, don't they?
Let's talk JP on some games. Michelle, what does that mean?
She's probably talking about March Madness.
Oh.
About how to figure that
Mike, what
out.
does that mean, Michelle? Come back with that. All right, we're out of here. Have a very blessed
love
day.
y'all.
Be
See you
safe.
Friday.
Weather's going to be crazy, so do be safe out
Yes,
there.
Yes.
And
if you're
we
in the
will-
Dallas-Fort Worth area.
We will see you Friday.
Or Thursday with Joel Scrivner.
Well, yeah, Thursday night. Don't forget Thursday night. Venture X, 6 o'clock. Go to their Facebook page. I put it in the feed, and you can sign up at the events on the Facebook page. That's us. We're out. JP, Kathy, and the crew.